Good morning, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the MaffmanJones movie channel. I'm your host, John Maffio, and today we're going to do a little something different. The last couple weeks have brought us a little bit of a movie drought. There's been like a weird mix of wide releases that nobody really has paid attention to, and it's been a couple of the worst box office weeks in movie history since 2001. Next big movie coming out is It next week, but before we do that, I saw like 2 or 3 movies. Didn't get a chance to review them because life got busy, so now I'm just going to review all of them right now. So we're going to talk about Death Note, Good Time, and Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. 3 movies enter, all 3 movies leave, but this time they leave with my opinions out in the open publicly. What? First, we're going to start with Adam Wingard's Death Note. This released on Netflix, and it's an adaptation of a popular anime, apparently one of the most popular animes that is out there in existence. And it's about this kid, Light, who discovers this Death Note. It's this book where you write a person's name in the book and how they die, and as long as you have a visual and you know what they look like, it could happen. This demonic creature, Ryuk, basically takes what this person writes in the book and makes said things happen. And when Light gets a little too crazy with it, there's a little investigation that goes on, and another character, L, played by Lakeith Stanfield, is on the case to try to figure this out and try to stop Light before he goes too far. And also Margaret Qualley from The Leftovers in this movie, and I really like her, but she's not that good of a character. She's kind of iffy. But I've also heard a lot of bad things about this movie. Before I watched it, there was like really sinister, evil, monstrous, trollish things happening with this film. And you know when a movie goes out in public and then people bash the shit out of it and then it becomes like the worst thing ever, and then you just assume that it's the worst movie ever made because everybody shits on it. Well, that's not the case, ever, because everybody has different opinions. So I went out there and watched the movie thinking that, you know, I could like it, I could hate it like everybody else or most other people, or I might just be like indifferent about it. And I gotta be perfectly honest, I enjoyed Adam Wingard's adaptation of Death Note. Having not seen the anime though, that might be the difference between me enjoying this movie and thinking very differently of it. There are some questionable things that occur in the film, really awkward shifts in tone, and really awkward dialogue that doesn't fit at all. There's just certain things that happen in certain scenes that just are like laugh-worthy. Probably not a good thing when you're trying to have a serious moment going on, like the introduction of a really creepy character like Ryuk, and you're having Nat Wolf screaming like a little baby. Ah! Ah! From a filmmaking perspective, Adam Wingard kicks ass when it comes to Death Note. There's a lot of crazy camera angles going on, a lot of really cool visuals. The style is totally there, and I'm totally in for it. And I like even like the costume work. I like the way that L walks around Lakeith Stanfield's character. Even if he's not a perfect adaptation of the character from the anime, I would know because I didn't watch the anime, but I just, the way he carries himself in this movie, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the cat and mouse game between him and Light. Coming from my perspective as a person who has never seen the show, I'm definitely going to now. That's another positive, that this movie made me want to go out there and watch the anime to see the differences, comparisons, and what's so great about it, because I've heard so many great things about it. But watching this movie and having a singular narrative focus on what I was watching, it was enjoyable. There are really questionable things, however, like I mentioned before, with the way that certain characters act, their motivations. But yeah, overall, Death Note was fun. I liked it. Am I going to remember it in like half a year? Or even like a few months? Maybe not, but of all the anime adaptations that we've gotten for film over the last few years, Dragon Ball, I guess you can count Last Airbender too, even Ghost in the Shell, which was kind of dull, I think this is probably one of the better ones that have released. I'm going to give Death Note a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a full-course Applebee's meal. Sure, why not? Next we have Good Time, directed by the Safdie brothers, that's being distributed by A24 and stars Robert Pattinson. That's a concoction that has to be strange and weird. But is it good? And is it worth seeing? Definitely worth seeing. I really enjoyed Good Time. I'm not going to be that person that says, I had a good time watching Good Time. Wait, I just said it. I didn't really know what to expect from Good Time, but what I did get when I left the theater, and when I still think about it now today, is a really uniquely crafted film with a vision of New York that is very realistic, but at the same time scary, but also colorful. We also get a very awesome performance from Robert Pattinson. Yes, Edward Cullen from Twilight. He's doing good things these days. At heart, Robert Pattinson's character wants to do the right thing by his mentally handicapped brother. he really has it out that he wants to make things, you know, he wants to make life easy for him. And from that perspective, you could like buy into his character and kind of relate to him and kind of be like, yeah, I'm rooting for you. But at the same time, his journey, his arc from beginning to end has so many dubious directions and moments where you're sitting there watching the screen, you're like, ugh, no, never mind, I like this guy. No. The movie starts off with these brothers doing something that nobody should ever do. It's something that will definitely get them in trouble. But, you know, a lot of movies start off with, you know, a bank robbery. Bank robberies can be dealt with, but it's one of the most incredibly surprising and unexpected downward spirals that you may ever see in a movie. There's parts where I was laughing just watching Robert Pattinson trying to dig his way out of a hole that he kept digging himself into, and the deeper the hole goes, like, the weirder things get. Like, it's really incredible how easy, like, you would think, okay, they robbed the bank, so obviously they're in trouble, but there is a way out of this. But, like, he keeps putting himself in situations that are like, you ask yourself, how did he get here? It didn't have to go this way at all. So the most entertaining part of this movie is seeing where Robert Pattinson's character goes from beginning to end and seeing how he gets to that end point on this journey that he's taking. One of the Safdie brothers plays the brother of Robert Pattinson, the mentally handicapped brother, and for all I knew, if I didn't know that he was a director, I would have thought that this guy was actually mentally handicapped. His performance might be even better than Robert Pattinson's in a more subtle way. There's also a very gritty noir style to the directing, to the visuals, and you might think they're actually just running around in Queens. It's been mentioned in other people's reviews, but it does really feel like they're just running around Queens and bumping into these weirdos on the streets, because that's how it is in New York. There's a lot of weirdos out there, and it feels like, almost like, it feels like they just got a camera and they're like, Robert Pattinson, just run around, cause shenanigans, because we'll make a movie out of that, and it's gonna be compelling. There's also really awesomely crafted synthesized music in this movie, and if you're a fan of 80s music, this movie's for you, and like, you're on edge because of it. But it's also just really cool to listen to too. It's just, it fits with the vibe of the movie. Overall, I really did like Good Time. I don't think I loved it, but I really appreciated it, and it's a movie I would revisit because of the story and Robert Pattinson's journey. Even though it does get a little uncomfortable at times, it's a really entertaining watch, and it's a movie that is definitely on the top, in the top region of A24's releases since they've come into play in film. I really like this movie. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a darn good movie. And finally, we come to a close with Steven Spielberg's 1977 classic, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, starring Richard Dreyfuss. I haven't seen this movie in years. Last time I watched it, I was really young. I've seen it in parts since then. I even own it on Blu-ray, but I never took the time to sit down and watch it from beginning to end. So when I saw that there was going to be a 40th anniversary 4K re-release in select theaters, and I saw that it was going to be in a local theater for me, I had to go check it out. And I'm so happy I made that decision, because this theater experience was one of the best. Steven Spielberg is a master, but I feel like sometimes Close Encounters goes under the radar, and even for me, I feel ashamed of it now, because this movie is masterful. It's wonderful, it's emotional, it's beautiful. It's got some of the most genuinely engaging reaction shots in any movie I've ever seen. Steven Spielberg has that thing, I guess people call it the Steven Spielberg face, where like in his movies you have these genuinely powerful moments where he'll focus on characters reacting to something. And you get that a lot in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where whether it's Richard Dreyfuss seeing the mothership for the first time, or even the government affiliates, the whole third act really, or most of the third act, towards the end, where Richard Dreyfuss and the woman who lost her son Barry go up the mountain and they find a facility, a base where they're communicating with these aliens, most of the ending of this movie is just them trying to communicate and then reacting when the aliens show up, and especially when the mothership shows up, most of the shots are just people looking, reacting, and just being in this sense of awe. And nobody captures awe like Steven Spielberg captures awe. Richard Dreyfuss has a close encounter, something of a close encounter, and he spends the rest of the movie having visions of like a mountain-like thing. And he wants to figure out why he's seeing visions of this mountain figure. And he wants to basically get an answer. That's it. Even though this film has fantastical aspects, it's tackled from the grounded approach of, if this really happened, how would people deal with it? It's tragic and heartbreaking seeing Richard Dreyfuss obsess over this visual he has in his head of this mountain and how it tears him and his family apart. But at the same time, the end result for Richard Dreyfuss's arc is really emotionally sweet. And it's just nice. Yet, I'm not going to spoil the movie. Even though it's 40 years old, I'm not going to spoil it. But yeah, basically the film is a giant build-up to the ending encounter. And the ending encounter makes the whole movie worth it because it ends on a very positive note for these characters, even though everything before it is basically like chaos. I really can't even describe it. Steven Spielberg is the reason why I make these videos. He's the reason why I'm into movies. He's the reason why I aspire to be in the filmmaking business, because when I was younger, I watched 95% of his movies that are around at the time, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the way he makes movies is so magical. I can't put any other words to it. He crafts visual paintings that put you into a time capsule of the moment when he made these movies, but they also will transcend and still transcend time because of these stories that he's telling. I don't know how Steven Spielberg finds these kid actors who would just break the camera with their screen presence. But this kid who plays Barry, like every time you see him and he has that smile on his face because he's just being so playful with these aliens, it's wonderful. And you don't know whether to be terrified or like happy for the kid when he sees these aliens again, because you know they want to take him in, but like his playfulness, it's kind of infectious. Score by John Williams. I completely forgot about, again, like this movie in general. It's not in the film that often. It's very, very minimalistically used, but when his score comes on, it like makes such a difference and it enhances the movie. Just like with the end of E.T., the ending of this film is empowered by his score. But yeah, overall, Close Encounters, I don't even know what to say about this movie. It's perfect. For what it is, it's perfect. It may not be the first movie your mind gravitates to when you think of Steven Spielberg, but it really is up there. If you like movies and you haven't seen Close Encounters, do yourself a favor, find any way you can to watch it, and just sit down and watch it. So if it's also out near you right now, I advise you to go watch it right now before it comes out and destroys box office records. Go take the time. Go do it. 5 out of 5, MaffmanJones. Ugh. Ugh. Yes. But now I want to know from you guys. This has been my little summer catch-up, but if you've seen Adam Wingard's Death Note, The Safdie Brothers' Good Time, or Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, let me know anything about any of those movies down in the comments below. What's your favorite of those? And how'd you feel about Death Note if you saw it? Are you on my side where you just enjoyed it? Did you love it? Or are you on the side that kind of just like, I hate this movie? If you enjoyed my reviews of these movies, please like the video, subscribe so you won't miss a review from me ever again, and check out the rest of my social medias and everything else down below. I'm John Maffio, aka MaffmanJones, and I'll see you guys next time. I love my porg.